Title: The sickness unto the self. You ever feel like your shadow isn't yours? Not in the poetic sense. I mean literally, like the shape you leave behind you isn't copying you anymore. Like it waits a beat before moving. Like it's watching. Judging. Measuring the distance between who you are and who you should be. That's how it started. I hadn't left my apartment in 3 weeks. Not for groceries, not for air, not for sunlight. I wasn't sick. I wasn't even particularly depressed in the way people mean when they say they're depressed. It was worse. It was like being trapped in a room with yourself, and that self keeps turning into someone else. Soren Kierkegaard called it despair. Not sadness. Not grief. But something deeper, the slow suffocation of not being able to escape yourself. The sickness unto death, he wrote. I'd read that book in college. Didn't understand a word of it back then. But I kept thinking about that phrase. A sickness that doesn't kill you, but makes you wish it would. I started dreaming about doors. They were everywhere. Wooden ones, metal ones, hospital doors that swung open both ways. And every time I reached for the knob, I'd see something in the corner of the frame, something tall, lean, dressed like me but too still. Its face looked like mine, only older. Tired. More honest. Then I'd wake up. And I'd feel it had come back with me. It was around that point I stopped recognizing my reflection. Not in a dramatic horror movie way, no blood pouring out of the mirror or anything. Just wrong angles. Eyes that looked past me. A mouth that sometimes smiled when I wasn't. I started talking to myself out loud. At first, it was just to hear a voice. Then it was arguments. I'd say, "You're not real," and it would echo back, "Then what are you?" My therapist said I was dissociating. That was a clinical word for it. But it didn't feel medical. It felt philosophical. Like I was peeling off layers of my soul and seeing things I wasn't meant to see. Like I had crossed a line Soren Kierkegaard warned us about, a confrontation with what he called the self that relates to itself. I started writing letters to people I hadn't seen in years. My childhood best friend. A girl I broke in half with silence. My father. None of them replied, of course. I never sent the letters. But writing them made something inside me scream. Because the voice in my head started reading them back. Out loud. In my handwriting. And one day, I woke up and one of the letters had been answered. Folded neatly on my desk, like it had always been there. It just said, "There are 2 of you. Only one gets to leave." I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I started keeping the lights on at all times, because shadows do things in the dark that they're not allowed to do in daylight. But even that stopped helping. Because I started noticing it during the day, too. Me, but wrong. Standing in reflections that weren't there. Tilting its head when I turned mine. I once watched my reflection blink before I did. And I realized I was losing. Not to insanity. Not to madness. But to myself. The part of me that knew I had failed, at honesty, at kindness, at being a full person. The Kierkegaardian self that I had abandoned, buried under layers of lies and performance. And now it was back. And it wanted in. I remember the moment it crossed over. I was brushing my teeth. Staring at the mirror, daring it to move again. But this time, it didn't. I did. But the man in the mirror didn't. And then he blinked. And I knew. I don't know how to explain what happened next. It wasn't violent. It wasn't loud. It was peaceful. Like trading places with a version of me that had waited patiently for its turn. I watched myself step away from the mirror, dry off, and walk out of the room. I was still in the glass. Still brushing my teeth. still blinking a beat too late. And I've been here ever since, watching him live my life. He's better at it. That's the worst part. He's kind, productive. He smiles in photos. He calls my mother. He finishes the letters. But sometimes, just sometimes, he stands too long in front of the mirror. And I see it in his eyes. The fear. The realization that one day I might want my life back. And the sickness never really ends. It just waits. The room that dreamed of me, I rented a room in a strange town. Now the room is remembering things I never lived. I found the listing on a faded community board by the train station. No phone number. No email. Just an address. The paper was damp, curling like it didn't want to be found. But I went. Because I had nowhere else to go. The house was old. Not charming old. Dying old. You ever walk into a place and feel like the walls are waiting? That's how it felt. The woman who answered was dressed in mourning black. Veil and all. Her hands were pale and too still. Her voice came from somewhere low in her throat, like she hadn't spoken in years. It's upstairs. The room at the end. I asked her the rent. She didn't answer. Just turned and walked away. There were 3 doors on the second floor, but only one was open. The light inside wasn't electric. It was wrong. It felt like memory. Inside, there was just a bed, a mirror, and an old rolled-up desk. The bed was already made. The desk already full. The mirror already watching. At first, things were quiet. Too quiet. I'd wake up with the sheets tucked in too tightly, like someone had remade the bed around me. The food I brought would go missing. And the journal in the desk, my journal, would have entries I didn't write. I saw her again last night. She was closer. The walls remember her. So do I. But the ink was mine. And the handwriting looked exactly like mine, only older. The mirror was the worst. Every night, it would fog up. I didn't own a kettle. No showers upstairs. No heat. But still, always fog. And always the same handprint in the center, like something on the inside was pressing outward. One night I woke to music. Low, humming, like a phonograph playing underwater. It was coming from the walls. I pressed my ear to the plaster, and I swear to God, I heard a voice whisper, "You are not the first." That night, I tore the wallpaper back. There were names underneath. Hundreds, scratched in with something blunt and desperate. Layer after layer, like this room had been collecting people. One of the names was mine. In my own handwriting. Carved deep. The next morning, I tried to leave. The stairs were longer than I remembered. The front door was further away. And when I finally made it to the entryway, the woman in black was standing there. She wasn't breathing. She wasn't blinking. She held out a key that I already had in my pocket. "You forgot your room," she whispered. I ran. I didn't look back. But now, I'm in another town. I rented another room. And this morning, I found something under the bed, a scrap of old wallpaper. With my name scratched into it. The room found me again. It remembers. And it's getting closer. Would you like, so tell me, what's the one place you never want to hear your name whispered? Like. Subscribe. Share this with someone who sleeps with the hallway light on. I was hired to clean out the house at 131 Ashmouth Lane. No one told me the house was still aware. When you're broke, you take what you can get. So when a man in a grey coat handed me an envelope of cash to clean out a property, I didn't ask questions. I should have. 131 Ashmouth Lane wasn't on any GPS. I only found it by accident. Or maybe it found me. The house was old, empty, and swollen with silence. The air inside was thick, like something had been breathing the same air for too long. There was dust on everything, but none on the doorknobs. None on the stairs. Someone had been moving. Recently. I started in the kitchen. Drawers full of baby teeth. A fridge full of photos that hadn't been taken yet. One of them was of me. The upstairs rooms were wrong. They were too quiet, and they smelled like old milk and metal. One of them had no door. Just a square arch where a door should have been, and inside that room was a bed, still warm. The covers were ruffled. And there were dents in the pillow like someone had just left. Only one room was locked. Naturally, that's the one I tried to open. Naturally, it opened on its own. Inside was a typewriter. Plugged in. Typing. The paper in it read, "Thank you for returning." It kept going, "You'll remember soon." That's when I heard something above me. Footsteps in the attic. But there was no attic. Not until I looked up. And saw a hatch that hadn't been there before. The ladder was cold. The hatch was colder. When I pulled it open, I felt wind, like there was something vast above me. Not an attic. Something else. I climbed. And found myself in a room that looked exactly like the one I'd just left. Same bed. Same desk. Same typewriter. But the paper now read, "You left before. You won't leave again." I backed down. Or tried to. But the ladder was gone. The hatch was gone. There was no ceiling anymore. Just another version of the house. Another hallway. Another door with my name etched into it. I don't know how long I've been here. Sometimes I hear the front door open. Sometimes I hear footsteps on the stairs. Sometimes I hear myself. There are more rooms now. Each one has a version of me inside. Sleeping. Crying. Screaming. They don't know they're trapped yet. But they will. I was hired to clean this place out. But the house had other plans. It's cleaning me out instead. One memory at a time. I kept getting letters from my future self until I didn't recognize him anymore. The first letter was short. Folded into eighths and slipped under my door like a motel bill. I didn't think much of it until I noticed the handwriting, identical to mine. Not just similar, the same slant, the same cross T's, the same weird loop I make in the letter G. But I hadn't written it. And I sure as hell hadn't signed it making in 4 years. It read, "Don't sign the lease." I know it feels right. It's not. You'll understand later. That was it. No return address. No explanation. Just a warning written in my own hand. And like an idiot, I ignored it. That apartment turned into the worst 2 years of my life. Mold problems. Noise complaints. A neighbor who screamed at her walls at 3 a.m. like they owed her money. The final straw came when the guy in 3B overdosed, and his cat started screaming through the vents. I moved out exactly 2 years and 4 months after moving in. And when I did, I found another letter taped to the back of my bathroom mirror. Told you. They kept coming after that. Not regularly. Not predictably. But always at a turning point. A job offer I shouldn't take. A person I should call back. A night I should stay in, because something would happen at that bar. At first, they were helpful. Creepy, sure, but helpful. I started keeping them in a box. And somewhere along the way, I began to feel like I wasn't alone. Like there was some part of me watching over the mess, quietly nudging me away from the worst parts. Until one arrived that felt wrong. It was angrier. The writing was the same. but the tone wasn't. You didn't listen. You never do. That girl, Maya, don't call her. I'm warning you. You'll regret it in ways I can't explain. I'm not going to keep saving you. Maya was the best thing to ever happen to me. Kind. Smart. Not afraid of the version of me that didn't know what he wanted. We'd stayed up talking about ghosts and memory and those weird dreams where you're someone else. I loved her. But 2 weeks after I got that letter, she stopped answering my texts. Her apartment was empty. No forwarding address. Her social media was gone. No trace of her anywhere. Like she'd never existed. I read the letter again, over and over, and noticed something I'd missed, a smear in the corner, like ink mixed with tears. And under the signature, just one line scrawled in near illegible script, I loved her too. That's when I started writing back. I didn't know where to send the replies. So I just left them under my pillow, like teeth waiting for a collector. I asked questions. I begged for more. I asked for proof. I asked what I was becoming. And eventually, he answered. But the tone had changed again. He was colder now. Less helpful. Less as me. His handwriting was slipping, less familiar, more angular. Like something else had taken root inside the pen. He started referencing things I hadn't done yet. Places I hadn't been. Thoughts I hadn't had. And some of it scared me. You'll stand in front of your mirror one night and forget which side you're on. You'll see the first version of yourself in a dream, don't speak to him. When they offer you a room with no door, say yes. And the last one, if you ever find this box of letters empty, it means you've become me. I don't know how long it's been since the last one. Days. Weeks maybe. My sleep is fractured. Time folds in on itself. I find notes I don't remember writing. Ones that say things like, get out of the apartment now. Stop trying to fix it. He's already inside. But I never hear a knock. And the mirror fogs even when I haven't showered. I've started whispering to it. Little messages. Bits of regret. Things I should have said out loud years ago. I hope they reach him. The version of me I used to be. Or will be. Or already am. The box is empty now. I opened it this morning, and all the letters were gone. And I feel watched in a different way. Not like there's something behind me, but like there's something beneath me. Like the floor is a skin stretched too tight over a screaming mouth. And I can hear it thinking in my handwriting. I think he's coming back. But I don't know who he is anymore. And I don't know which one of us opened the box. Title, The Walls Were Breathing, and I remembered her name. It began when the painting cried. Not with sound, but with something worse, movement. A glistening shimmer beneath the eyes of the portrait above the stairwell, where Evangeline used to stand, brushing her long black hair in the mirror that's no longer there. The house was never meant to outlive her. It was too large for one man. Too many rooms with thoughts of their own. I inherited it like a sickness, and it grew inside me, grief curdled into guilt, guilt into ritual. I lit the candles again tonight. All of them. 7 rows of wax lined the great hall. The firelight danced against the wallpaper, blistered now from age and damp. I cannot bring myself to replace it. The pattern reminds me of her breathing. Not the gentle kind. The last kind. I do not remember when the walls began to shift. Only that one night I woke to find the floorboards warp beneath my feet, as if the house had sighed in its sleep. The rooms are different now. The dining room is longer than it once was. It stretches further with each passing day, and I count the chairs, 22 yesterday, 25 today. All carved in her image. All with the same smiling eyes I had painted on her coffin before it sank. I say her name aloud every morning. I say it into the kitchen walls, into the mirrorless hallway, into the black place under the stairs. Evangeline. Evangeline. I say it until I forget how language works. Until it becomes a shape, an insect chewing its way into the softwood of the floor. I found her voice in the dumbwaiter. It was only a whisper at first. A low murmur, like moth wings beating against a coffin lid. I pulled the rope, and the platform rose. Nothing on it, just dust and string and the faint scent of lavender. Then the note. Folded so tightly it had to be forced open. Her handwriting, delicate and trembling, stopped lighting the candles. You're keeping me here. I wept into the stove that night. I poured salt over the doors. I tried to burn the portrait, but it would not take. The fire curved around her face like it was defending something. I slept in the wine cellar with the rats. They seemed to understand. I no longer believe she died. Or if she did, I no longer believe she stayed that way. Last night I followed her voice through the west wing, where the moon never touches and the air is too still to be real. It led me to a door I didn't recognize, enameled black and etched with symbols I once dreamed of while sick with fever. The doorknob was warm. I opened it. Behind it, a staircase that descended into angles too tight for human bones. The walls were wet with something thicker than water. I called her name, and the walls called it back. Not in echo. In agreement. I don't know how long I was down there. But I returned with her ribbon in my pocket. The red one she wore the day I proposed, when she said yes without blinking, and the crows flew east like something had been made right again. I keep it now in my mouth while I sleep. It stops the dreams. Mostly. Except last night, when I dreamed of her spine unfolding like a staircase, her voice coming from beneath her skin. She said I was close. That if I kept digging, I'd find the last part of her, the part one sealed in with the bricks behind the parlor wall. I had no memory of this. But my hands did. The bricks were soft. Behind them, a void. And in it, something white and moving. Not bones. Not quite. It was writing. All over the inner wall. Written in her hand. A single phrase over and over again, the house was never sick. It was me. I do not write these words to warn you. I write because they tell me to. The floorboards now speak in her voice. The chairs all face me when I sleep. The dumbwaiter rises on its own. And the portrait, it smiles. Not kindly. Like a secret kept too long. Subscribe to Halfway Dark, where lost memories, forbidden places, and the stories nobody should tell are waiting for you. Hit the bell so you never miss the next shadow. And if you heard something familiar in tonight's story, leave a comment. We read every whisper. There's something living inside my reflection, a slow burn descent into isolation, paranoia, and the things that live on the other side of the mirror. It started small. Just a flicker. Just once. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed it, a delay. A hesitation. My reflection blinked just half a second too late. That night, I laughed it off. Told myself I was tired. I'd been working late, barely sleeping, eating garbage. Of course my brain was misfiring. But then it happened again. This time, I watched it closely. I smiled at the mirror, tight, deliberate, and my reflection didn't smile back. It stared. With my eyes. But it wasn't me. I stopped using mirrors after that. Covered them all. The bathroom, the closet door, the hallway by the coat rack. I even threw a sheet over the screen of my laptop, just in case. But I could feel it. On the other side of the glass. Watching. Waiting. It wasn't a ghost. I don't think it ever died. It was me. Almost me. The wrong version. a cracked draft of my soul. 3 days in, the dreams began. Always the same, I wake up inside a perfect replica of my apartment. Except every surface is a reflection, ceilings, floors, walls. I walk in endless circles. The light is all wrong, flickering like breath. And the air tastes like blood. Then, I see it. Me. Standing just beyond a warped pane of glass, watching. I pound on the mirror. It smiles. And then, it walks away. Worse than the dreams are the recordings. The ones I don't remember making. Clips show me walking into the bathroom and whispering things in a language I don't understand. Sometimes backwards. Sometimes silent, but the audio shows spikes, like something's there even if I can't hear it. One clip shows me vanishing into the mirror. No cut. No edit. Just gone. I don't remember any of it. I tried telling a friend. He came over, skeptical, annoyed, thought I was having some kind of breakdown. But when he stood in front of my uncovered hallway mirror, he went quiet. "You don't look like this," he said. I asked him what he meant. He said, "Your eyes. In the mirror, they're wrong. Like they're closer." He never came back. His number is disconnected. I tried visiting him, but his apartment was empty. Freshly cleaned. No smell. Like no one had lived there at all. Now, it mimics me in public. Storefront windows. Windshield reflections. The black of a turned-off TV screen. I'll glance, and there I am. Smiling when I'm not. Bleeding from the eyes. Holding up a finger to its lips. Last week, I woke up at 3:33 a.m. My bedroom mirror was uncovered. I never left it uncovered. But that night, it was bare. And something was watching from the other side. Not behind the glass, inside it. Pressed flat and wide, like a spider waiting to strike. It opened its mouth. And I heard it in my head. "You've been out here too long. Come back." I haven't slept since. Haven't eaten. I can't trust anything reflective. I've started covering puddles, turning off my phone. The windows are painted over. The microwave is in the alley. But it's still there. Getting stronger. The other me. The one I left behind in the dream. Last night, the mirror cracked on its own. A hairline fracture running right between its eyes. Not mine. It's almost through. And when it gets here, I don't think there's going to be a me left to fight it. The apartment building that charges rent in memories, I can't remember who I was before I moved in. I found it by accident. A building tucked between two others that shouldn't have had space between them. No listing. No sign. Just a handwritten flyer taped to a rusted lamppost. Apartment available. First month free rent negotiable. Must be forgettable. I was broke. I was desperate. I was stupid. The landlord was blind in both eyes but always seemed to be watching me. "You'll fit in," he smiled. He didn't ask for a deposit. He didn't ask for ID. He just handed me a key with a tooth carved into it. Room 5A. Pay on time. Or we take something important. I thought he meant furniture. I was wrong. The building was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you forget what you were doing mid-thought. The walls were soft to the touch. Breathing, maybe. Or remembering. Each tenant I met was weirder than the last. A woman on the second floor who only walked backward. A man in 3B who screamed at mirrors, then apologized to them. A little boy who swore he was 84 and used to be the landlord. The first rent day came, and I had no cash. But the landlord smiled again, too wide. No worries. We'll just take a little something. The next morning, I couldn't remember my high school graduation. It was just gone, like it never happened. Each month, more memories disappeared. First it was old stuff. Childhood. Favorite toys. My mom's voice. Then it got closer. The names of my friends. My passwords. My face in the mirror. I tried to move out. The door was gone. Room 5A has no door now. It just opens onto the hallway no matter what. Sometimes it's upside down. Sometimes it's underwater. Once, it was just a mouth. I still see the landlord sometimes. Only now he's in every reflection. He's me. I don't know who I was before this place. I barely know who I am now. But I do know this, the rent's due tomorrow. And all I have left to give is this story.